Okay, in this video, we're going to look at a more detailed breakdown of the assignments feature in our Canvas page. So I'm going to show you my Canvas page and we'll walk through the high level of, first off, how you can set up different assignment groups and assignments overall, and then we'll dive into the details of what are some functions that you can build into a specific assignment. So you'll see that I have a class here set up where I have 3 assignment groups: classwork, projects, and homework. Each of these have a very specific grade amount, so I have a weighted average system here. If I wanted to add a particular group, I can do that by clicking this button up at the top. And I can say, maybe I want to do, let's say tests or something like that. If I wanted to do a weighted average where all of my tests constitute, let's say 40% of the grade, I can do that by putting it in there and then clicking save. I can also always adjust these percentages later on by clicking these 3 dots and then clicking assignment group weights. You'll see that because I added this new test and I already had 100%, it's now going to add up to 140%, but you can play with these percentages to adjust your weighted average if you would like. So if you're going to create a Canvas course to begin with, I really recommend doing these groupings. If you don't do weighted averages, that's okay, but I still think it helps with the organization to create whatever groups work for you. All right, so now we're going to create an individual assignment. So we're going to click on this button at the top here. You'll also note that these smaller plus buttons next to each of the groups will also create assignments. But you can see that it's a much more bare bones thing. So it's nice and convenient if you want to create a very quick assignment, but I don't think it's very helpful to go into the details. So I'm actually going to go into, if you click more options, it gives you the same thing as if you click the assignments button here. So we're going to click that and jump in. All right, let's walk through some of these pieces now, and we'll walk through everything that you can do within an assignment. So first things first, we'll call it an assignment. So let's call it a demo assignment. And then from here, we can put in any sort of text. So insert text here, text here. So maybe these are instructions, maybe these are links to certain websites or things like that. You have a lot of different options on what goes in this text here that students would be able to see. Some of these things are pretty common. You can see like bold and italics, anything like highlighting, anything like subscripts and superscripts, which are really nifty. But I really want to highlight these buttons over here because these are some of the functions that you can add into your Canvas assignments. So for instance, if I want to have an external link, so let's say I want to add like a YouTube video or something like that, and I can have it externally linked to that. If I click on this external link button, I can add in certain text. So this is like demo text. And let's say I want to add it to youtube.com. I would put in some other link that maybe you specifically want to link to. You'll see that it can then appear here. And I mean, it's just regular text, so we can adjust it and do everything we would normally do. If I don't like that, I can also then remove that link if you would like. And the other piece you'll notice here are these course links. And this is something that we want to keep in mind for actually all of these because we have these idea of course images, course media. So in Canvas, you're able to add external links, videos, pictures, files to either your specific course. So in this case here, it'd be for me design thinking, or you can add pictures, audios, medias to your personal account. Like for me, it would be Tyler Gaspich. But in this case here, if I wanted to just do an external link, that's probably your most common thing. If I wanted to link to like a YouTube video or something like that, you can do that. All right, moving over, I can also do the same thing with uploading images. So if I want to upload an image from my computer, I can click this upload image button. And you'll get this set up here where you can either add an external URL, or if I want to drag and drop something into the assignment itself, I can do that here. So I would just click and drag and upload that image from there. And again, that's right from your computer, or if you click into it, you'll have your pretty classic setup where you can pick certain files if you would like. Similarly, also this course images and user images, if you have images stored in another spot on Canvas, either within your course or within your personal user, you can bring those right in. And that might be convenient if you have an image for numerous classes that you don't want to keep linking out towards. What is also unique is that if you do upload an image, it will then also become a course image too, which I think is pretty nifty. Similar setup with uploading and recording media. One thing that I really like about Canvas that we can start to do is that if you want, you can upload an audio or a video file, or if you click on this record button, you can then have the ability to record yourself. So this is me. And if I want to just record either the webcam or if I want to just do the mic, I can do that from here. So I think we've seen enough of my face. But that's a pretty nifty feature that you can upload and record your own media right in the assignment itself. So especially if maybe you have students that are virtual or you want to try and just, I don't know, show your face in there, just gain a little more personality, I think this is a really nifty tool. Similarly here with these documents, you can upload specific documents. Notice that these are also Canvas documents or any sort of like Word documents. I'm going to show you what you can do with Google in a second. But all of these same functionalities are available as documents too. Now, if you want to link in your Google Drive, it's going to be this plugin button here. So I have it already linked, but if we click on that button and then click View All, you can then directly link your Google Drive. This will also be how you can link Google Meet if you want to do that too. And if we were using Microsoft Office, you can do that from here as well. But I really think these Google apps, Google Drive, Google Hangout Meet might be the ones that you would add into it. So if you click on Google Drive, you can actually get your Google Drive directly linked to it. So let me show you what that looks like then. So if I link that as this plugin, I can sign in and I can now select a file directly from my personal Google Drive. So once this pops up, you'll see that I can choose any sort of files that are all in my personal Google Drive. So if I want to, let's say, upload a design challenge, which is what I did for this other class, I can directly upload this here. And these are all from the recents. I can go into my whole drive if you want to. Pretty common options here. So let's say we want to do that. Notice here that it will allow anyone with access to the file to view it. You might need to go into your Google Drive and adjust those shared settings if you find it problematic. And you can see that it embeds it here really nicely. It's a pretty smooth update if you ask me. If you don't want it to embed, you can also just have it as a link because every Google Drive document will have an external link. You can just upload that similar to what we did earlier. Okay. Right. Some other functions that you can add for these text boxes are pretty common. Like we said, we have some indentations. If we want to left to justify or center justify, you can do bullet points, any sort of indents. And then a couple of nifty features like if you want to add a table or if you want to add an equation or if you want to embed a video into it similar to how we did with the Google Doc, you can do these things here just by clicking these three dots on the side. All right. So there's a lot of functionality here and I think it can really depend upon how personal you want to make this assignment and how engaging you want to make this assignment. It does text very easily, but there are a lot of other functions. All right, in terms of setting up grades now, we can set these up as points. So let's say I want to make this a 20-point assignment. I can assign it to one of those groups. So we notice that we added tests here. So I have these four options. I'm going to say that this is a project. But if you wanted to add a group as you go, you can do that here too. And notice that once you add this group, it will then appear in your assignments tab from earlier. So let's make it a project. I tended to have everything be defaulting to points personally. You can have other grades. So like for instance, if you just want it to be a complete or an incomplete grade, you can have it set as that. Or if you want it to be a non-graded assignment, you can set it that. So if you want to make some sort of formative assessment that you want to track, but not have it impact the grade, you can do that here too. Also noting that do not count this assignment towards the final grade will do that same feature. So let's say I want to make this a 20-point project, but I don't want it counting towards the grade. I can do that. All right, now your submission type is what's I think really powerful about the assignments feature. It's nice to be able to post things in different ways, but how students submit things can get really, I think can get really interesting. So the default ones are you can have no submission whatsoever, so it's just you inputting a grade to it. Or you can have an on-paper assignment so that students are submitting their assignments in class. I know as a math teacher, if I ever have homework that I want students to write out, I usually set this setting here. But I'll talk a little bit about an online and an external tool now. I think those are where it sets it apart. When you do online, you can do numerous options. So I could hypothetically have all of these options available. But I really recommend only limiting it to just one or two. And it depends upon what kind of submission you want students to do. So for instance, if you want students to submit as a text entry, you can click on that, and then when students go to submit whatever the work is, they'll just type in their responses in a text box, very similar to the one up top here. So if you have, let's say, a quick reflection, maybe you wanted students to write a paragraph reflecting on how a certain lesson went, or maybe you're just giving, like, you just want them to type out the introductory paragraph to their essay. You don't need the whole assignment, or you don't even need a Google Doc or anything like that. You just want the text to it. I would just stick to this text entry here. You can also have students submit as a website URL, so it's just the link that they would do. I personally use this one a lot because I have my students create portfolios through Google Sites. So they just send me the URL to their Google site, and I can then grade it from there. For the media recordings, this was very similar to this media button from above here. The students are able to upload and record their own media either through Canvas. So similar to how you saw my face earlier, they can either record it through there, or they can create their own video and then upload it. Most of the students will probably create a YouTube and then just be able to upload the YouTube. If you want to do it that way, that's fine too. But note that this is a function that the students can create their own video in Canvas. I'm going to jump down to the file uploads. So this would just be if they want to upload a specific kind of document or a specific picture. So this could be if you want them to submit a Google Doc, if you want to submit a Word doc, a PDF, if you want to submit a JPEG or or a PNG file. One thing to note about the file uploads in general is that they don't accept iPhone photos. So the .heic, which is an iPhone photo, Canvas doesn't accept yet. I get a lot of questions about that one. So it's just something to think about when you are choosing what files to upload, is that .heic doesn't work. You have to convert it over. And then finally, the student annotation tool, which I think is pretty nifty. This allows students to directly annotate on a PDF. So if a student is, everyone gets their own copy of a PDF, maybe it's like a worksheet, they can type on that worksheet themselves and then submit the typed on worksheet. One thing to note about the student annotation tool is that you as the teacher are unable to annotate if you are grading these on the iPad. So that's just something to keep in mind. I know a lot of teachers really like grading on the iPad with the Apple Pencil, but this functionality loses, the teachers lose that functionality if they choose that as an option. So let's say we'll make this a text box entry. You can choose how often a student is allowed to submit an assignment. So if we have unlimited attempts, maybe you're doing multiple drafts of an essay, you can do that. Or you can limit it to the number of attempts. So maybe there's just one attempt that they can see. Or maybe we want to update it to have 2, 3, 4, however many you would like. Let's say that there are 3 attempts for this assignment. They submit it once, I give them feedback. They submit it again, I give them more feedback, and they submit it again. All right, I'll provide some documentation on these last 2. So this is a group assignment. So if I want to have it as individual groups that I want to potentially give the same grade to, I can do this. Or if I want to just highlight that this assignment was done by a certain handful of students, this can be pretty intense, but I also think it's pretty powerful if you are doing group work. Because from the group setup page in Canvas, if you set up groups, those groups can actually kind of work together within Canvas. So if they want to share their own documents or if they want to communicate within Canvas, they can do that. And then setting up groups can also be very nifty because you can split students into 4 groups if you have 20 students, or you can split groups into groups of 3, or you can manually create the groups, or you can allow them to create the groups. There's a lot of options here that I think just providing documentation would be probably better for everyone here. Same thing with peer review. You can allow students to blindly review each other's papers and provide feedback on that. Again, I'll provide documentation in the notes of this video so that if you are interested in doing this, you can try it out. Okay, the last piece is then going to be this assign to piece. This allows you to assign the assignment to specific people, sections, individuals, whatnot. So right now I have it default to everyone, but let's say I just wanted to go to design thinking period 3. And I can have it be due for them, let's say on January 7th. And it's only going to be available for them starting tomorrow, and it's only going to be available until the 10th. So this means that the assignment itself is due on the 7th. It'll appear on their calendar as due on the 7th at this particular time. You can adjust that. The students won't be able to view the assignment, though, until December 31st, and it's the 30th today, so they won't be able to see it until tomorrow. And then they won't be able to then submit the assignment even late after this date. So if it's, let's say, January 8th, they can still submit the assignment, but it'll just be viewed as late. Once it hits January 10th at this time, it will no longer be able to be viewed or submitted by the student. They won't be able to submit anything. So now what if you have multiple sections and you want to submit different assignment due dates for different sections? Well, it's the same assignment, but maybe my other section has it due on the 8th because they're a day behind or something like that. I can click on Add, and then I can do another section. So maybe this is my regular design thinking section. And you noticed very quickly that if you drew that whole dropdown, you can also assign this to individual students too. So maybe there's a student that's been out on medical leave or something like that, and she needs to have her assignment for a month from now or something like that. You can get that granular. But note that this section will have a different due date than this section. So maybe this one's due date is going to be the 10th. And I can have it set for 8 a.m. So now everyone in the Design Thinking Period 3 section will have an assignment due and appear on their calendar on the 7th. Everyone in the Design Thinking section on its own will have it due on January 10th. And we can again change these available from and until dates to whatever we want. So maybe because they're behind, they're not going to see this assignment until the 4th. And I don't want them to be able to submit it until after, let's say, the 13th. And again, you can change those times like you saw earlier here. Notice that in the gradebook, it'll appear as grayed out if you see all of your students at the same time. But if you sort by individual sections in their gradebook, you'll be able to see just the assignment associated with that particular section. So if I'm looking at, like, let's say the Design Thinking Period 3 section, I would only see this assignment for them. I wouldn't see this duplicate. But if I went and sorted by this section, I would only see this assignment and not the duplicate. So I really recommend, instead of creating multiple assignments for different sections, just outlining the same assignment if you're doing the same assignment, just on the different gradebooks. Otherwise, your grade on the different due dates, I should say. Otherwise, your gradebook becomes a little bit messy. And then finally, at the bottom here, we have a couple of different options. If you want to scrap the whole thing, you can click Cancel. If you click Save, that will save all of the work that you've done for this assignment, but it will not be viewable to the student. So it will appear in the Assignments tab that we saw earlier. And I'll show what that looks like. So this is my assignment with the demo text. If I go into all of the assignments, I can see that I have a demo assignment that has not been published. The students can't see it. That's why this line is through here. If I wanted the students to see it, I can just click on that button and publish it out. Or if I go into the assignment itself, I can publish it here. Note that even if an assignment is published, you can always go back in and edit it, and it will take you back to the screen that we were just seeing. If you feel comfortable with it already being published automatically, we would click the Save and Publish button at the end here. And if there was any sort of change to the assignment that you would want the students to see, you could click that button and they'll get a notification about it. I'm not going to publish that because I don't want the students to see it. It's a demo assignment on an actual class. And that's the assignment feature. So you can see that there's a lot of different options that you can use. You can also view what it would look like from the student side of things, a function that you can see throughout Canvas. But something to think about is, what kind of assignments do you want to do? Like I said, for my design thinking class, it's much more project based. So that's why there's a lot more projects in it overall. But I also, for my math classes, tend to make things, I tend to have more formative assessments. So maybe I'll record if a student does, how they do on an exit slip. And even though it's not counted to the grade, it still gives a nice opportunity for everyone to see, on this particular exit slip on this topic, a student got a 4 out of 5 or something like that, or students consistently get 2 out of 5. So let's talk about that. I think it makes a more convincing argument when you're talking with students and parents about next steps and how to really get folks back on the same track if you put your assignments in and are just very clear about what they are and why they're there. But it's also curated to your particular class. So like I said, design thinking only has homework, projects, and classwork. But I know for my math classes, I tend to have tests and quizzes and all of the, quote unquote, traditional teaching assessment strategies. But you might also then have a formative assessment category that is 0% of your total. It's entirely depending upon what you want to do. I think it's just a matter of being clear to your students and to your families about what your grading style is. But in short, that's a high level overview of what assignments are in Canvas.